Alright, the mastery test is going to be tomorrow, so we're going to go ahead and get started. The first part of the test, the first quarter of the test, is by solving for x. So every time you solve for x, pretty much what you're doing is you're going to locate the x, and you're going to locate the equal sign. Wherever the equal sign is, you draw a line that separates into two parts. This part has an x, that's what we're going to work on, the left-hand side. Wherever the x is, you put multiply and divide. Those are your only two options. You can either multiply by 2 or divide by 2. Whichever one does not have the x gets either a plus or minus. Those are the only two options. You can either add or subtract. You already subtracted, and this is already to the side of the x, which means it's already multiplied. So in order to solve this, you're going to add a 9 and divide by a 2. So I'm going to go over here and add a 9 and divide by 2. Same thing over here. The only difference is this one right here is not an equal sign, it's a less than sign. So after you draw the line, just draw the less than sign right there. That way you don't make a mistake and make it an equal sign. Same concept, x is on the left, so you put multiply, divide wherever the variable is, wherever the letter is, plus or minus wherever the other one's at. This one's a plus, and even though this has a negative sign, adding and subtracting is not an option. It's multiplying. So I'm going to subtract an 8. And divide by a negative 2. The answer is x is less than 5. But there's one more rule that makes this different from an equal sign. If you ever divide by a negative sign or multiply by a negative sign, this switches. So the final answer is x is greater than 5. This is the same concept right here, except in this side when we first started, we're looking for the x, we notice that there's parentheses. You always want to handle the parentheses first. Parentheses means multiplication. So we're going to go ahead and multiply. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10x. And negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. Now that we multiplied, now we can go ahead and locate the variable. But we have a problem. There's two x's. We're not allowed to have two x's. So whenever you have two x's, you have to either add or subtract to get rid of one of them. In this case, I don't want this one, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid, I can get rid of the 3x. This is a positive 3x, so it's already positive. So I'm going to subtract the 3x from both sides. That leaves me with a negative 27 on the side, a negative 14 over here, and negative 10 subtract 3 is negative 13. And now that we have it set up just like we had it over here, and just like we had it over here, now we can continue our normal process. Wherever the letter is, your options are multiplication and division. Wherever the number is, it's either addition or subtraction. It's already subtracting, and this is multiplying. So we're going to add a 14 to both sides. And now we're going to divide by a negative 13. Final answer, x equals positive 1. Again, here we have the same concept. We draw the line. Remember, that's not an equal sign, so you draw it right here so you don't forget that. And in this case, we have more than one x. Over here, the x's were on opposite sides, so we could either add or subtract to move them out the way. Now here, they're on the same side. So when they're on the same side, all you do is combine like terms. See these two things right here? They're right next to each other, so they can combine. A negative 8x plus a 2x just negative 6x. So these are gone now. Now we have a negative 6x plus 5, and here we have a negative 25. Now we look back to normal. Looks just like this, just like that, just like this, and now we can do what we've usually been doing. The option here is multiplication and division. Over here is adding and subtracting. It's already added, and it's already multiplying. So we're going to subtract the 5 and divide by negative 6. Answer, x equals positive 5. But remember, we divided by a negative number. Whenever we divide by a negative number, we flip the inequality. Okay. Number 5 is solving for the letter k. Now over here, we only had x. Here we only had x. Here we only had x. Here we only had x. So whenever you have only one letter, you solve for that letter. But if you have two letters, you got to pick one. In this case, we're solving for k, so k gets the multiply divide. And since this is not k, it gets a plus or minus. It's already adding. The 3 is already multiplying. So I'm going to subtract the 4f Be careful not to write it under the 28. They're not the same kind, so they have to go separate. This gives me negative 4f and positive 28. And here we have 3k. Now we're going to divide by 3. Final answer. K equals 28 over 3 and negative 4 over 3f. Now if you want to make it look prettier, just draw one big old line and draw a 3 down here. Because they both have a 3 in the bottom. You don't have to write it down twice. Okay, that was a quarter of your test, 25 points. So if you're able to solve for x, this will make it happen. These are only 5 different ways that you're going to be tested on solving. So make sure you know how to do all 5 of them. For the domain and range, you have 10 points. And usually what I tell my kids is we always go here, right on the top, I want to be a doctor. Doctor. So all these are domains, all these are range. So when I list them, I'll put domain, and I'll just list them. 8, negative 4, 0, and 8. Why? Because all these are domain. So all these are range. So for the range, I'll also list them. It's 7, 4, 1, and negative 5. That's all you got to do. For the domain and range here, in a set of points, that's easy. You pick the points. But if in here it's a line, then you're going to draw some lines. How do you do that? By drawing a box. We're going to pretend that's right there on the line. Okay, so what are we doing here? We're pretty much saying that this part of the graph is not used. So we're going to pretend this part of the graph is not even there. Now we're only going to look at the part that I put a box around because that's the part where the graph is at. So when we're talking about the domain, we're actually talking about the x. And in the x, the box starts off right here at negative 6 and goes all the way to number 3. So we'll say negative 6 less than or equal to x less than or equal to positive 3. Now domain is x, so the letter in the middle is x. Range is y, so the number in the middle, the letter in the middle will be y. Let's take a look at the range. The range is the y, this is the y. Goes to 6 and 0, so we put 0 and 6. The smaller number is always to the left, big number is on the right. This is the range. So with numbers, you take the numbers. With the lines, you draw lines. And this is 10 points on the test. Now we're going to take a look at function notation. And for function notations, you have 15 points. So it says, given h of x equals 3x minus 8. Remember, h of x is just the same thing as y equals. So whenever I have a y equals, what I really want to do is I want to use my calculator. My calculator has a button right here, and it says y equals. So if I just press that on, plus that, it takes me right there. And then all I got to do is plug it in, 3x minus 8. If it's in the middle, it's a minus. Even if it might look like a negative sign over here, if it's in the middle between a number or a letter, it's a minus. And then you go to the table, and I'm looking for negative 2. There's negative 2. In front of it is negative 14. Now I'm looking for negative 8 on the right. To the left of it is a 0. Next I'm looking for a 3. A 1's next to it. 5 is 7. And 7's in front of 13. Really, really easy. The trick is this is the same thing as y equals, and that button says y equals. Over here, we're going to take a look at it. It says f of x equals 2, open parentheses, 3x minus 4. And it says find f of 7 and find f of x equals 22. This is really easy. I tell my kids to find the equal sign, draw a line, just like we did when we're solving. Then draw an x and a y. What does that look like? Well, that looks like an x and a y, where the 7's right here and the 22's right here. See how that looks? That makes it super easy, because now I'm going to use this y equals and put it right here where it says y equals. 2, open parentheses, 3x minus 4. See that? Go to the table. I'm looking for a 7 here. The answer to that one is 34. Then I'm looking for a 22 over here. The answer to that one is 5. So, f of 7 equals to 34, and f of x equals 22. The answer there is 5. Again, that's 15 points, so 15 points and 10 points is 25. That's half of your test. If so far this is easy, then that's half of your test right there. For slope, you have 15 points. When they ask you to find the slope, all you got to do is go y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. But we have a trick. If you take this table and just slap it with your right hand, the table will kind of flip over this way. And that gives me my fraction. See that? That looks like the fraction. This is y1 and y2, x1 and x2. So all you have to do is go 7 minus 12 over 2 minus 5. And if you do that, that's exactly the same as using this formula, just a little bit easier. So you could go y1, y2, x1, x2. It's up to you, whichever way you find more easier. Now 7 minus 12 and 12 minus 7, it makes no difference. It's still going to work itself out. So anyways, there it is right there. Plug in the numbers, use the trick, or do it on your own. And then what you want to do is you want to create a fraction. So if you go alpha, y equal to, enter, you have an empty fraction right there. Go 7 minus 12 up top, 2 minus 5 in the bottom. Or do it by hand. The answer there is 5 over 3. So what's the slope? 5 over 3. Super, super easy. Find the slope given 3, 5, negative 2, negative 5. Now this is exactly the same as this. Here the points are in the table. Here the points are just given to you. So all you got to do is create a table. 3, 5, negative 2, negative 5. It's like you take these two, put them on the front. Take these two, put them on the bottom. That's all you got to do. Now again, remember, you could either use the formula or you could just slap the table. I'm just going to slap the table with my right hand. And as I slap the table with my right hand, it will fall this way. So in my fraction, 5 and negative 5 are on top. 5 minus negative 5. And 3 and negative 2 on the bottom. Here's 3, here's negative 2. And always put a subtract sign in the middle. These are always subtraction. So now I take my calculator and plug those in. We have 5 minus negative 5. And 3 minus negative 2. The slope here is 2. So you've had to find the slope here, you have to find the slope here, and now they're going to ask you to find the slope here. Now again, these points are in the table. These points were just given to you, and these points right here are in the graph. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put these in the table right here. I took those out and I put them in the table, and now I'm going to take these out and put them in the table as well. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and take them out of this graph and put them in the table. This point is 1, 0. And this point is 3, 3. Again, to get the slope, you just slap the table. It flows over this way. Those numbers are on top. Those numbers on the bottom. And again, you can go over here and go alpha, y equal to enter. And we have 0 take away 3, and 1 take away 3. And that's 3 over 2. Of course, this is not the only way. You can also do rise over run. 1, 2, 3. Rise 3. 1, 2, run 2. Same answer. It's just up to you. Alright, 15 more points right here. It says, given slope equals 1/2 and 0.25, locate 4 other points. Use the graph to help. So this is super easy because all you got to do is go to 0.24. Now, that means you walk to 2, climb to 4, there's your first point. Now, this is your point, this is your slope. Now, slopes are your directions. So you go to that point and use these directions to rise and to run, and you'll be able to put a whole bunch of points, as many points as you could find. So I'm going to rise 1 spot and run 2. There's a point. That's 4, 5. I'm going to rise 1 and run 2. It's another point. That'd be 6, 6. And I can rise up 1 and run 2. That'll be 8, 7. And if you really want to, you can go backwards. Down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. And you'll find your y-intercept, which is 0, 3. And if you really want to be crazy, you can continue until you find your x-intercept. which is negative 6, 0. And you can find as many points as you want. Here it says, given the graph, find the x-intercept, find the y-intercept, find the slope, and find the equation. Actually, that's pretty easy. See this right there? That's your x-intercept because it crosses the x. That'll be 2, 0. That's your x-intercept. Your y-intercept crosses the y. That's right here. 0, negative 4. To find the slope, you can go rise over run, or you could just slap the table. Since I've been doing this a lot, let's go ahead and do that. If I slap the table, these numbers are on top, 0 and negative 4. On the bottom is 2 and 0. Put a minus sign in the middle like that. And that gives me my slope, which is 2. Rise 1, 2, 3, 4. Run 1, 2. 4 over 2 is just 2. And then the equation. The equation is super easy. It says y equals mx plus b. This is the slope. This is the y-intercept. Well, we already know the slope is 2. And we already know the y-intercept is negative 4. There's your equation. Alright? So far, we only have the last part, which is 20 points. And for 20 points, what they want you to do is find the slope, find the y-intercept, find the x-intercept, find the equation for both of these. And that's pretty easy, because the first thing you should realize is this is not in slope-intercept form. We call the other form slope-intercept form because this is our slope, slope-intercept. Slope comes from this part. This is my y-intercept. So it's the slope-intercept form. We can find the slope in the y-intercept. This is not looking like this. So we need to take this, make it look like that, so I can find my slope and y-intercept. And that's pretty easy. All I got to do is pick a letter to solve for. Usually, if we always have x, we solve for x. But now we have x and y, so we've got to pick which one to solve for. And as you can tell, this is what we have to solve for. So we go back to the first type of questions on this test. Solve them for y, so y gets the multiply divide. X gets the plus and minus. It's already subtracting, and this is to the side, so it's already multiplying. So I'm going to add a 2x to both sides. And then I'm going to divide by a 3. That ends up giving me y equals negative 2 plus 2 over 3x. The slope is not the first one or the second one. The slope is always the number next to the letter x. My slope is a positive 2/3. My y-intercept is a negative 2. To find my x-intercept, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to graph this since it says y equals, and just check it out. Now, of course, there's other ways of doing this. I just find this to be the easiest way. I just type that in there. I graph it. And this is the x-axis. It looks like it crosses around 3. And it does. See? That's our x-intercept, 3. To find the equation, all we need is the slope and the y-intercept. Good thing we have the slope and we have the y-intercept. By the way, look. Same thing. Let's try it again. I'm going to take a look at this one. This one looks a little bit more intimidating because we have a fraction. But don't stress it. Your calculator has fractions also. All you have to do is go alpha y equal to enter. And you can type up 1/3 right here. And you can multiply that, add it, subtract it, divide it by any number. So it's not hard at all. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. We'll draw the line right here. And we see we have a parentheses. You always handle the parentheses first. I have 1/3 times negative 2 and 1/3 times 12. So we'll do them one at a time. 1/3 times negative 2 gives me negative 2/3. 1/3 alpha y equal to, enter, times 12 is 4. On this side, we have y minus 2. Let me rewrite it here so you can have more space. Alright, now remember, we wanted to say y equals mx plus b. So I want to solve for the y. So the y gets a multiply divide, the number next to it gets a plus or minus. It's already subtracting, and if you notice there's nothing here. There's nothing that's multiplying, there's nothing that's dividing, so we're not going to even need to do this time. The opposite is the minus is plus, so we're going to add a 2 here, add a 2 here. Notice how I put it under the 4, not this one. This one has an x, so it doesn't get the plus 2. Final answer, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 6. Slope, right here. Y-intercept, right there. Equation, right there. So the x-intercept, we're going to use the calculator. So all I do is I turn it on, go to y equals, because this says y equals, negative 2/3 x plus 6. Here's my graph. There's my x-intercept. So it looks like it's around 9. Let's check. Oh, there it is. 9. Remember, all intercepts have a 0 in them. This is an x-intercept, so there's a number in the x. Y-intercept, the number's in the y. Okay, guys, that's the whole test. It's very doable. Good luck on it.